Quite humbling to follow Ken and several of the other speakers, all of the other speakers, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you all for coming out. I will try to keep it as short as possible. I'm the last speaker and it's quite hot out, so thank you all for your patience. 77 years ago, Neville Chamberlain, after negotiating the Munich Agreement with Hitler, he returned to England, waving his document proclaiming peace in our time. World War II soon followed. Shockingly, we are now living through another historic moment of equal, if not greater magnitude, and hearing the same promises from the President of the United States. Yes, those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it, but this time should be different. This time we may have a president motivated by an obsession with his own legacy and a desire to withdraw American power from the Mideast and replace it with an Iranian hegemon. But we also have a Congress that can influence the direction of history and prevent what is appearing to be an inevitable World War III. Chamberlain perhaps could be excused for his naivete in dealing with Hitler, but Obama and Kerry have no such justification. Just as Hitler laid out in Mein Kampf his intention to annihilate the Jews, Iran's supreme leader and tens of thousands of Iranian citizens actually take to the streets, not screaming, "Deal with America," but "Death to America." History is in fact repeating itself, and yet Democrats are either clueless or complicit. And while Chamberlain was seeking to buy time for the British to rebuild their military decimated after World War I, Obama's desire to buy time is simply to delay the nuclear problem, kick it down the road for his successor, and walk away with his legacy. But there's one other event in history that I think that we should recall. The moment that Iran declared war on the U.S., 36 years ago, when 52 Americans were taken hostage at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. They were held captive for 444 days. Today, Iran holds 4 U.S. citizens hostage. But unlike Jimmy Carter, who at least made an effort to try to bring the hostages home, Obama surrendered to Iran while ignoring these American lives. It is mind-boggling how President Obama negotiated a deal with a terrorist regime that had been brought to his knees, and it was in a weak position from the get-go, and yet chose to ignore these 4 individuals and their dire predicaments. The current Iranian hostages are being beaten and tortured inside Iran's Evin prison. And the best Obama can do, while giving the green light for Iran to go nuclear, is to bully a reporter to prove his claim that he's not content about the outcome. Well, we have a message for you, Mr. President. Americans are not just discontent, we are outraged. We are outraged that when you finally took to the airwaves to proclaim that you would work hard to get these men back, you couldn't even pronounce their names properly. We are outraged that these 4 American citizens and their families continue to live a nightmare, as Christian Levinson, the wife of Robert Levinson, said it, a nightmare that must end. You, Mr. President, are our national nightmare. We are here to tell you that the American people have woken up. I have one other point I'd like to make before I conclude. I, like many others, have argued that while this deal is bad for Israel, it is also bad for America. Death to America invariably follows death to Israel. Iran has designs on destroying our country and will try to do so. But I would be remiss if I did not recognize that as a Jew, I have a responsibility to ensure Israel's survival. As an American Jew, I am uniquely positioned to do so without compromising my patriotism as a U.S. citizen. And watching this administration hurl accusations of dual loyalty and attack Senator Chuck Schumer with anti-Semitic canards that are reminiscent of pre-World War II Nazi Germany is not just astonishing, but quite scary. It is unacceptable for any government to encourage anti-Semitism with calls of violence and dissemination of hate. But when anti-Semitic memes are propagated by the President of the United States and his cabinet members and staff, Jews the world over must activate to defend themselves against what could very well prove to be a coming tidal wave of aggression. Never again has never been so close as Barack Obama's full-court press to pressure Congress to approve his agreement with Iran moves from demonizing Republicans to demonizing Jews who fear with good reason they are witnessing the signing of another Munich agreement. All people of good conscience must speak out that anti-Semitism is simply unacceptable no matter who is speaking. Tropes of Jews leading the world into war, of dual loyalty and the like, have always been and always will be pure and simple, ugly anti-Semitism. After Chamberlain returned to England waving his faux accomplishment known as the Munich Agreement, Winston Churchill stated, "We have suffered a total and unmitigated defeat. We are in the presence of a disaster of the first magnitude. We have sustained a defeat without a war, the consequences of which will travel far with us along our road. We have passed an awful milestone in our history and do not suppose that this is the end. This is only the beginning of the reckoning. This is only the first sip, the first foretaste of a bitter cup which will be proffered to us year by year, unless by a supreme recovery of moral health and martial vigor we arise again and take our stand for freedom as in the olden time." Several days later, he added his now famous line, "England has been offered a choice between war and shame. She has chosen shame, she will get war." Democrats have an opportunity to exhibit, in the words of Winston Churchill, a supreme recovery of moral health and martial vigor, so that we arise again and take our stand for freedom as in the olden time. History will not judge kindly those who fail the American people, as well as this test of moral certitude, by supporting this deal. The Democrats must do the right thing, vote to disapprove, and demand that President Obama negotiate a better deal. Thank you all.